Summer's supposed to be the easy season. So why are so many people quietly Googling a therapist between summer Fridays? Because more daylight doesn't fix the hard stuff. Sometimes it just turns the volume up. Grow does therapy differently. Therapy is not only for when you're in crisis. Grow Therapy is here for all the moments when you decide you want more. More support, more clarity, more tools. Mental health isn't a destination you reach. It's something you build, and Grow makes that easier. Grow connects you with thousands of high-quality licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. The therapist you want takes your insurance on Grow. Grow accepts over 125 insurance plans. Sessions average $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/book now today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/book now. growtherapy.com/book now. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Welcome to the Superman Radio Podcast here on Radio Metropolis. With Jimmy and Anthar imprisoned, awaiting their trial, Poco, who had been pretending to be a traitor, has an idea of how to save them both. You know, some people will look at this serial as a science fiction story, although I don't really. I mean, there's nothing Star Wars about this, not yet anyway. Nothing Star Trek, Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers. This is basically our last serial, The Man Without a Face, or the recent Knights of the White Carnation, retold with the same setting, however on another planet. And I realize that the original story came before all of this, but it did come at 1944, which was the latter part of World War II, and we knew what was going on with Hitler. So this was reflecting a lot of that in a kind of a heightened scientific, sci-fi rather, space opera way, as I had said before. But I was curious to see why we had such fascination with dark stories and horror in the early 1940s at the height of World War II. Here are 3 reasons. With the constant news of violence and uncertainty, horror was a way to indirectly process the fear in which these darker stories allowed audiences to release tension in a controlled environment. That's very, very true. Radio horror relied on sound effects, silence. Silence is scarier than sound, actually. And voices to trigger our imaginations. Programs like Lights Out and Suspense, which I've featured here on Radio Metropolis, used creaking doors, screams, and eerie music to create atmospheres that were more immersive than early cinema horror. And finally, number 3, horror radio showed that audiences could survive terrifying scenarios and feel relief after the episode. Now, when superhero radio shows like Superman tackled darker stories, its intent was to offer reassurance and hope. As in the case of Superman, they embodied strength, justice, and moral clarity, qualities people crave during a time of global conflict. Instead of catharsis through fear, these shows provided confidence through heroism. With horror, it leaned on dark soundscapes, so you had eerie music, silence, screams, unsettling narration. With superhero dramas, they used bright orchestral cues, these triumphant fanfares, and moral storytelling that was very, very clear. Horror reflected cultural anxieties. Superman and hero stories reflected aspirations. So I would look at this not as 2 separate things. I would look at this as 2 sides of the same coin. They each mirrored wartime dread versus countering it. So one was dread, one countered it, as each was going for the same result, in which audiences could face their fears and find reassurance. Think about that. In our next podcast, we'll talk about the effect this had on post-war entertainment, which delved into the world of noir. So let's get to tonight's episode as Poco decides to rocket back to Earth to track down Kent or Perry White with the last-ditch effort to find Superman. This is The Mystery of the Lost Planet, Part 6 from April 16th, 1947, here on the Superman Radio Podcast on Radio Metropolis.
Faster than a speeding bullet. more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P, Pep. Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, presents The Adventures of Superman. Today, Clark Kent tells how Jimmy Olsen was condemned to die on the planet Utopia and reveals how he learned the details of the young reporter's predicament. Assigned by editor Perry White to write a feature story on Superman's most unusual adventure, Clark Kent gave it much thought. Then he selected an experience that began one day when Jimmy Olsen was taken to the planet Utopia by Anthar and Poco, two Utopians who wanted to convince the young reporter that their people planned to invade and conquer Earth. Now, Kent continues with his story.
Immediately upon arrival on Utopia, Jimmy and Anthar were thrown into jail by order of the vicious regent to await trial and a predetermined death sentence. But Poco, the fat little rhymester, managed to talk with Jimmy and learned from him that Editor White might be able to contact me, that is, Superman. So Poco, taking his life in his hands, set out on an attempt to reach Perry White. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Anthar were brought from their cells to an anteroom of Utopia's huge Senate chamber, where they waited for the senators to assemble for their hearing.
Do you think we have a chance for a fair trial?
I fear not, friend James.
Why?
Because of the 100 senators who will sit in judgment upon us, all but a scant few are Zeram's men, personally chosen by him to do his bidding.
Well, how come? Don't you have elections up here in Utopia?
We always did before Zeram seized control of the government. Now Zeram, and he alone, says who shall and who shall not hold office.
Oh, I know his kind. There are still a few of them left on Earth, too. But when our United Nations really get swinging, there won't be any more like that at all.
That is as it should be.
Amen. That doesn't solve our problem right now.
Indeed it does not. I feel now that nothing can save us from Zeram's wrath.
Unless Poco manages to go through with what he told me last night.
What? You saw Poco last night?
Uh-huh. Somehow or other he managed to get to the window of my cell.
Tell me, what did he say?
Well, he said he was convinced that only Superman could get us out of this mess. And he asked me how to locate him.
Yes.
I couldn't tell him any more than I told you. That is that I don't know. Except that maybe if he could manage to contact Mr. Kent or Mr. White, maybe they could help. So he said
That he would attempt another trip to Earth?
That's right.
Oh, that is just what I feared he might do.
What do you mean you fear? That's our only chance.
Yes, but poor Poco knows little of interplanetary navigation. Without help, he may be lost in space.
Oh, no.
Poor Poco. It was his lot in life to play the fool, and as a fool he will die.
And so it was in a spirit of dejection and utter hopelessness that, a few minutes later, Jimmy and Anthar were ushered by armed guards into the Senate chamber, where on a high throne planted on a dais overlooking 100 white-robed senators sat Zeram, beak-nosed, fierce-eyed regent of Utopia.
Silence! Zeram, the great and glorious regent of all Utopia, speaks.
Boy, what a build-up for that ugly puss.
Please, friend James, be quiet.
Gentlemen of the Senate, fellow Utopians, we meet today on an unhappy occasion to learn that Anthar, one whom we all loved and trusted, a man who once earned the respect of his fellows, has now become a turncoat, a foul traitor.
Hey, what kind of a trial is this? Is Zeram asking or telling them?
I warned you not to expect a fair trial.
What cared Anthar, the man our people trusted, that our planet is doomed to be shattered in space within a few weeks? What cared he that our people are thus doomed to death? No! Anthar cared only for himself. For by acting as a traitor to Utopia, he was promised great riches and power on Earth. If we are destroyed...
Holy smokes. He's sure getting this bunch worked up with the old rabble-rouser technique.
And now, gentlemen, this same Anthar, a base traitor, dares ask that we grant a fair trial to him and his fellow conspirator, the spy, James Olsen. However, keeping in mind that Utopia is, after all, a democracy,
Is he kidding?
it is our duty to listen to Anthar, even though we know beforehand what our vote will be.
You hear that? He just as soon as told them they're going to vote us guilty.
Courage, friend James. I will do my utmost to change their minds.
Fellow Utopians and fellow members of the Senate. You may call me traitor, but I will be heard. It is true I flew through space yesterday to Earth, but I went there for but one reason, to speak with only one person whom I was sure could help us. And unfortunately, I failed to find him. However, gentlemen, hear me when I say that we not only commit a great moral wrong by planning to invade the Earth, but it will mean our destruction.
I have heard enough. Gentlemen of the Senate, shall we waste time in debate here? Shall we wait and risk defeat? Or shall we strike now while the people of Earth are off guard, and so secure a new homeland for our people?
Wait! Senators, wait! I tell you, Zeram leads you to destruction.
Gentlemen, you have heard Anthar, who speaks for himself and the American spy. You've heard him in fair trial. Are you ready to vote now on the fate of Anthar the traitor and James Olsen the earthling spy? Very well. What is your verdict?
Guilty!
It's a landslide against us.
Yes, friend James. I have played my last card and lost.
You hear that, Anthar? The Senate has voted unanimously that you and the American spy are guilty. Hear my sentence then. God, strike the gong. Anthar and James Olsen, by vote of the Senate, and by my power as regent, I sentence you both to be placed in a sealed space shell at sundown this evening, and to be propelled thus into the vastness of space, there to perish.
As Jimmy later told me, the pronouncement of his and Anthar's doom by the cruel Regent Zaram made him feel certain at that time that all was lost, that now not even Superman could save him. But he reckoned without the courageous and loyal Poco.
In a moment, we'll return for more of Clark Kent's story. So keep listening. Now, back to Clark Kent's thrilling story.
As Jimmy Olsen and Anthar heard their doom pronounced by Zaram, I was sleeplessly pacing the floor in my apartment when I was suddenly startled to attention by the ringing of my phone. Hello, Clark Kent speaking.
Oh, Kent, this is Burroughs at the office.
Oh, yes,
I
sir.
hope I didn't wake you up.
No, I haven't been asleep. Matter of fact, I've been out all night hunting for Jim Olsen.
Yeah, I didn't get much sleep myself worrying about him.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Kent, we just had a flash on the teletype.
About Jim?
Well, no.
Oh, well, turn the story over to someone else, will you, Burroughs? I'm giving all my time to looking for Jim.
Oh, sure, I know, but this is very strange, Kent, and it seems to concern you.
Me? How?
Well, it sounds crazy to me, but it's been authenticated.
Oh?
Now, listen to this. Some kind of a huge white ball fell out of the sky about 20 minutes ago and landed in the middle of Main and Franklin Streets.
What?
Yeah, I said it sounded crazy, but Peters happened to be nearby and he authenticated it. He says the ball seems to be some kind of a weird plane or rocket ship or something.
Well, I'll be... Listen, Burroughs, was there anyone in it?
Yeah, that's the other crazy part of it. There was a little fat man in it.
There was?
Yes, Peter says he was dressed in shorts and sandals and had tiny silver bells on his wrists and ankles. And get this, Kent, before he passed out of the picture, he asked for you.
For me?
Yes, Peter swears.
Never mind, listen. Where is he now, the little fat man?
At St. John's Hospital.
Hospital?
Well, sure, I told you he passed out of the picture when the ball crashed.
Great Scott, is he... how badly is he hurt, do you know?
No, I don't, but my guess is there wouldn't be much left of anybody after crashing in a contraption like that.
Well, cross your fingers and hope he isn't done for, Burroughs. Because if he is, I'm afraid we'll never see Jimmy again. Hoping against hope that the little man might yet be alive to tell me something about Jimmy, I stripped off my street clothes and, as Superman, rocketed out of my window toward St. John's Hospital.
Tomorrow, gang, Clark Kent reveals the condition in which he found Poco and what the little rhymester was able to tell him. And from there on begins the most exciting part of Superman's most unusual adventure, the mystery of the lost planet. So don't miss a minute of it. Be sure to tune in again tomorrow. Same time, same station.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at this same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal. And be sure to be with us tomorrow for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
And that was The Mystery of the Lost Planet, Part 6 from April 16th, 1947, here on the Superman Radio Podcast on Radio Retropolis. In hearing Zoram's speech, he has the very same purpose as the Apollonian leader Roz in The Mysterious Disappearance of Clark Kent, which we heard a few seasons ago. It's clear when Planet Utopia came out in 1944, it was a direct message to the public about what was going on in the world, with Hitler in particular, in which Superman will ultimately come sweeping in for the win. And I'm glad that Kent has finally clued in to what really happened, and Superman is now on duty, about to meet Poco. Now, will he fly back with Poco in the rocket ship or just streak across space carrying Poco, defying all logic like he did with Jimmy? We'll find out. Anyway, next time. That was Part 6 of The Mystery of the Lost Planet, heard on April 16th, 1947, here on the Superman Radio Podcast on Radio Retropolis.
This is Radio Retropolis.